Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this episode we're going to discuss a bit on the trends in telecommunication and in globalization, because I think these two concepts are related. So what you see here is a figure from a study, and this represents the global gap between the low, medium and high income countries in terms of telephone access. So as we can see, even in the 70s, the high income countries had a huge advantage in terms of communication, right? Because the telephone means being able to communicate, right? To exchange ideas, to be part of mutual interest groups that advance a political idea. So these are related, right? Political participation most probably is higher in high income countries. So as we can see, the global gap has grown tremendously, especially since the 1990s. And by 1999, the mean per capita telephones in high income countries was around 100, while in medium countries it was around 20, while in low income countries it was around 0. And in low income countries it barely moved from the 70s to the 90s, but in the high income countries it almost tripled. The next thing we should discuss is the eroding global gap in access to newspapers. So from the same study we can observe in this figure that actually when it comes to newspapers, the gap is eroding. What does this mean? It simply means that the high income countries move away from newspapers. As we can see, in low income countries the newspaper is around 0. In medium income countries the mean per capita newspaper circulation is around 10, while in higher income countries it peaked in mid 80s, around 84, 85, and then so it peaked at around 35 per capita circulation, and then by the end of the 1990s it went down, I think, below 30. While in medium income countries it stayed relatively stagnant. The next thing we should discuss is this figure. So from the World Value Survey, the individual level patterns of use of newspapers, radio and internet in all societies. So if I quickly read this, the biggest impact of economy on either newspaper, radio or internet is in internet. 0.6 is more than double than in newspapers, right? So the more rich you are, the more internet you'll use. It's a similar positive correlation between newspaper and economy, with the lowest in radio and TV. And the next one, demographics. Let's see. So in demographics the biggest effect is in internet again, but it's inverse effect. So the younger you are, the more internet you'll use. Yeah. And in terms of gender, for radio TV it's not significant, so we will ignore that. And I would say it's similar for internet and newspaper. Males use it more than females. In terms of socioeconomic resources, for example, income, the highest effect is again in internet. So the more income you have, the more internet you'll use, with the lowest effect on the radio or TV. Professional managerial, so the more professional you are, the more internet you'll use. I would say similar levels in newspaper, but much lower in radio and TV. While if you are skilled manual, so for example you make shoes, yeah, the more professional you are in that area, the less internet you'll use, but most probably you will use the radio and TV, and similar levels of newspaper. In terms of cognitive skills, so education, yeah, the highest effect is again on the internet. The more educated you are, the more internet you'll use, the least radio and TV you'll use. And in terms of English speaking language people, the more English you speak, the higher chances you have to use the internet, with very few chances to use radio and TV. In terms of motivational attitudes, the more interest in politics you have, the more you'll use newspapers, but similar levels for radio and TV. And the more you'll trust in news media, the more radio and TV you'll use. With internet users having the fewest trust in news media, yeah, it's a negative correlation. Yeah, that's about explanation of use of newspaper, radio, TV and internet. And the last thing we should mention is the rising trends in globalization, as we can see in this figure from KOF Globalization Index. In the last 30 years, with data ending in 2004, globalization has exploded, I would say. With the exception of political globalization, which between mid-70s and mid-80s it got more national, so globalization reversed. But by mid or end of the 80s, globalization was at similar levels to 1978. And since then, every aspect, political, economic, social, is more and more global. Yeah, with English language mediating and facilitating the rise of the globalization. So with this, I end our episode here. If you have questions or comments, please contact me in my Facebook. And do not forget to like or subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.